Active listening is one of those skills that affects so many different aspects of your life. And in today's video, we're going to talk about 5 techniques that you can use today to be an amazing active listener. What's up guys, Matt here. If you are new to the channel, do consider subscribing. You got more content on motivational self-help and communication skills. So why is active listening so important? Let me give you a couple examples. Have you ever had a situation where you had something important to tell someone, something that was personal to you, it was meaningful to you, and the other person listened like this? They were on their phone, they were looking around, they're playing with something in their hands. How did you feel when that happened? You probably felt like what you were saying just wasn't important to that person at all. And if it was really important to you, you might have seriously regretted bringing it up with them because that's the kind of response that they had. Without implementing good active listening techniques, it can really harm your relationship with other people. It can reduce trust. It can lessen the bond or the connection that you have with that person. On the flip side, there's loads of benefits to being a good active listener. I've got this friend, Maria, and she is amazing at it. There's probably 20 people who, if I sat down and said, hey, who's your best friend? They would all say, Maria. It's obviously not reciprocal because they're not all her best friends. But the thing is, whenever she would speak to people, they would feel like she is fully there with them. People would often find themselves saying things like, yeah, I never really told anyone that, but I said it to her. And the thing is, Maria's had so many benefits to being such a good active listener. Professionally, for sure. She's had multiple promotion opportunities because of the way she builds relationships, the way she can network with people. She's the kind of person who, whenever someone's walking by her desk in the office, they always stop by and have a chat with her. And it's also helped her a lot in her personal life, with dating, with friends, anywhere she seems to go in the world. She just makes these really good connections with people. She makes strong friendships. So who do you want to be more like? Like Maria, who just makes all these incredible relationships? Or like that person who others regret opening up to because of how they respond? I mean, look, it's an easy choice. So how do we actually become better active listeners? The first skill to use is to pay attention. And I know this sounds so obvious, but that means you're not sitting there answering your phone, sending messages every time it buzzes, or checking who messaged you. It means you're not sitting there wondering about, oh, what am I going to have for dinner this evening? You're not thinking of what you're going to say in response to what they say as they are speaking. It means you're fully listening to what that person is saying. It's said that 70 to 90% of communication is nonverbal. And even if that person listening to you doesn't consciously clock that you aren't paying attention, they will feel it. They will pick it up in your nonverbal communication. And that's why it's so important to actually actively practice paying attention. And the second skill to use is to actively show that you're listening. And you can do that with your voice, your face, and your body. All these things encourage the person to keep speaking, to open up, or just to feel safe talking to you. You can show you're listening by nodding as they speak. You can smile. You can give little words of encouragement like, no, really? Okay, wow, yeah. Obviously, don't overdo that though. I used to work with somebody who every time you were saying something, she'd be like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, got it, yeah, okay. And she was saying so many things that it was super, super obvious she was not actually paying attention. And that was quite frustrating as well. So you want to use words of encouragement, but don't overdo it. Also practice having an expressive face. Try to match how you feel to the expression you're using. Some people always have a very neutral expression, and that can make it hard to gauge people. Also, if you tell a joke and someone just has a stonewall blank face, they're going to be less likely to actually want to make more jokes in the future. So you might give them like a token smile or something just to show them that even if you didn't find it hilarious, a little smile would at least encourage them to make more jokes in future. The third skill you can use is to hold off on any judgment until at least you fully understand what that person is saying. We all have our own beliefs and they can distort what the other person says in our minds. So to make sure that you can understand them properly, try asking them questions or paraphrase what they're saying back to them and ask them if you've understood correctly. So you might say, okay, wait, so let me just confirm here. You're saying that to get the best night's sleep possible, I need to do 1, 2, 3. Am I right there? Is that right? And if they say no, just ask them to explain it again and then try to paraphrase it back to them. When you do this and you really understand what people are saying, it's also a brilliant way to avoid arguments, because so often arguments are caused by people not really fully listening or not really hearing what the other person's saying. And the fourth skill to implement to be a better active listener is to minimize interruptions. Now, of course, look, interruptions are going to happen, but there's nothing more annoying than when every time you're trying to say something, somebody keeps jumping in there with these off-topic stories or irrelevant information. It just completely sidetracks the conversation. You lose your trail of thought. It's a huge telltale sign that the other person isn't really listening. So try to avoid that. Put your focus on the other person and understanding them. Keep the interruptions to a minimum. And the fifth skill that you can use to be a great active listener is to work on responding to what the other person said appropriately. That means that if somebody just bared their heart and soul to you about something personal, you probably want to have some follow-up questions there. Like if they just tell you all this information and you just sit there in silence, it doesn't quite feel right. You might want to show an interest, ask some questions, try to get clear on what they're saying. Maybe tell a personal story about a similar thing that happened to you. And doing that is actually a really great way to bond with somebody and to make connections with them. It's when somebody says, oh yeah, this thing happened to me. And the other person goes, me too. Yeah, it happened to me at this time. It's when we build on these kind of commonalities with people that we feel connected to them. We feel closer to them. There's so many benefits to being a good active listener in life. And in fact, there's too many to ignore this as a skill. You got to get it handled. If it's something that you're not used to doing, you got to get it handled. You got to get good at it. It's going to improve your professional life, and it's going to improve every single relationship that you have. I hope you found these techniques useful. Let me know in the comments below if there's any other skills or active listening techniques that you use or that you've seen that you find really beneficial. For more content like this, please do consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out. I would really appreciate it. There's going to be another video popping up on the screen here about compassion and how practicing it can help reduce the stress and anxiety in your life and just make you a happier person in general. So make sure to check that out as well. And I'll see you in the next video.